Neal, you know where I'm going first, don't you? Saturday, that goal. I mean, I just want your thoughts really on the goal and the reaction to it. It's been magical for a few days for Notts County, really.
To be honest with you, we've scored some goals in the last 18 months. I mean, I remember talking about Doyley's goal last season. We've had so many strange things and wonderful things happen over the course of the last 18 months. Obviously, talking about the Dagenham game with Doyley in goal, the way the team played, and there's just been so many moments. And this was just another one. And it's good because football is about this, isn't it? It's about, not the same old every single time. And, I think I came in this morning, the first thing I did was ask for Elisha's autograph. And he's a humble guy, Elisha, so he's kind of going, oh, no, not me, I'm just normal. And I said, nah, come on, you're a global superstar now. So it's great for him, it's great for football. And to be honest with you, me having my coaching hat on, 2 minutes before he scored that goal, I actually turned around to Greg and said, if Elisha wants to score a goal, he's got to get in the box more, and he's got to get on the end of crosses, because Jimmy Knowles had put one in, a wonderful ball in earlier, and if he'd have really wanted to, he'd attack the far post, he'd have scored. So he proved me wrong.
You mentioned the halfway line goal last season. I wonder, is it just coincidence, or do players maybe play with a bit more freedom in the FA Trophy, and maybe they get that little extra to be able to attempt something so audacious?
No, I don't think they do play with more freedom. I think we all want to do well in the competition. I think even, last season, like I said, you get through them first couple of early rounds and you start to smell, oh, hold on, we're only sort of 3 games away here, and so on and so forth. And if you look last season, we had a really tough run, the 9 men with Yeovil, and things like that. And this season, we've had some tough, hard yards to put in. Lee would have travelled up to Morpeth with us. That was a tough one on a horrible pitch. We've had to go away to Stockport. That's a tough one. Obviously we've had to win a penalty shootout on a 3G pitch. So we've had to battle to get to this point, and the lads are desperate to have an opportunity to go to Wembley. So I think that pressure they put on themselves to try and get there doesn't give them the freedom.
Going back to the goal, is it? I put it on the spot here, but is it one of the best goals you've ever seen, like being on a touchline for?
See, the way I look at best goals is different, because I'm a coach. I don't look at football through a fan's eyes. I look at football through how are we trying to play. So I'll get more satisfaction and more delight from a goal that we work on off the training field. The Stockport goal on live on telly in BT, which got played loads and loads of times. For me, that's everything we try and apply on the training field. So that gave me more satisfaction. But for sheer, oh my God, did I just see that, right? This is as good as it gets.
What it meant is it's now a semi-final tie with Hornchurch. Got a bit of research to do, haven't you? Get out, they're not a team, they're 2 divisions below you, so you got a bit of work to do, you and the coaching staff.
Yeah, we will. We can't focus on Hornchurch yet. We've got so many games. I don't know how many we got before we get there, but it feels like there'll be another 6 games, 7 games before we even get to that. So you can rest assured in the week leading up to it, they'll become our focus. We won't take them lightly, but it's a home draw, which is great. And we always believe if we can apply ourselves right, we can beat any team. But it's great that you've got a team from 2 leagues below in a semi-final battling for a place at Wembley, and we're going to have to match their will to win for sure.
Okay, let's move on to Tuesday. At the time of speaking, the game may be in a little bit of doubt, I guess. There's a lot more stuff to happen, I guess, between now and Tuesday. But Kings Lynn are one of the teams who don't seem convinced they're going to finish the season. How hard is it for you to prepare for this specific game with perhaps the doubt that the Kings Lynn have created?
To be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, the game's going ahead. I've had no inkling from anybody, and Jason would normally tell me, cue him knocking on the door in a minute and telling me there's a phone call. But as far as I'm concerned, the game's going ahead, and that's not an issue. And we crack on, and we've got 11 games in the next 6 weeks, and the schedule is brutal, and we've got to be ready for it.
You give a great answer there, and I believe you. The other week you mentioned whether I thought you were not telling the truth, but You seem so calm and collective. It's been a season of upheaval for so many reasons. Does it never get to you and you just think, oh, crumbs, not another random situation?
Well, I think, I do enough. What's the word I'm looking for? I read enough books. I do enough research on leadership to want to get better at being a leader. To know that you matter, as far as I haven't got a self-importance of how big I am at all. It's about me leading from the front and the players following my lead. And if I get up and down and start getting stressed with it all and start saying, oh, this is a joke and stuff like that, the players are going to feed off that. Whereas if I say, no, we've got what can only be described as a brutal remaining schedule for the rest of this season, and if I sort of go, oh, this is a nightmare, this is going to be really tough, the players will feel the same way. So for me, let's put a smile on our face. We're fortunate to be in jobs, and let's relish it and let's have a real good go at it.
Well, you mentioned the word relish, and it kind of moves me on to my next question. We were talking in the office that the Championship season and Colin Frey covering Nottingham Forest, it feels like they're in their final straight now, whereas poor Charlie Slater and Notts County and everyone connected with the club and Mark Stallard, it feels like you've got half the season to go, basically. I mean, is it a daunting prospect with so much to go, or are you actually relishing it?
Yeah, I'm relishing it, but I'm also, I had a chat with the boys after the game on Saturday, and it is, as you start getting to the warmer weather, touch wood, and you start getting towards Easter, there is that tendency to think, right, we're nearly there, we're in the home straight, and we're not. We haven't even got to halfway yet for us. And I did say to the boys, in any normal season as a manager, I would mix up the training schedule. So we'd have had a day at the races, team bonding. We'd have had gone to a health spa and just had something different on a recovery day. We'd have changed our venue here or there and done various things. We can't do any of it. And the hardest part is the monotony of every day. It's the same thing. All we can do is turn up, follow all the COVID regulations, and train and follow all the COVID regulations and go home. And it's that bit that mentally is the most challenging. And I said to the boys, we're not even halfway, and the schedule will be brutal. We won't have time to breathe, and we won't be able to do various different things that we normally would have because of COVID. So if we can be prepared for that, if we can all say, look, this next 3 months are going to be pretty tough, but let's turn up with a smile on our face. Let's not get down. If we're in the squad, we're not in the squad, all them kind of things. And let's stick together and see if we can drive through what's a unique, tough season. Then that might just give us a chance.
Now, unless you've got a chalkboard in your office, you might not know this next stat. And again, I'm not going to take credit for it because it's come from social media and a stats Twitter site. But Tuesday is your 100th game as manager at Notts County. I just wonder how proud you are to reach that significant milestone.
Well, first of all, I don't know what era we live in having a chalkboard, because I'm sure they've gone from every school up and down the country. I think now we've got the whiteboards, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. No, I don't look at my own stats. I never have. I can only say I'm really, really proud to be manager of this football club. I was proud to be given the opportunity. As a kid, I was a huge football fan, and Notts County was always a big club or a traditionally brilliant club. So to sort of be the man who's been charged with running it as far as the football side, I take immense pride in that. 100 games, well, we would have never guessed that when you looked at the stats prior to me taking over. Absolutely, and the main thing for me is I know I'm always going to be judged on results. I know that with football, but the one thing that I took over, and the one thing, although the league was higher and I didn't manage to keep us up, the one thing I've tried to do behind the scenes is change the culture, change the setup, facilities, all that kind of stuff, and drive us forward. That bit I can honestly say I've done. Hopefully the following bit from that is results and stability, and that will carry the club forward for many years. And I can only say I'm immensely proud to still be here.
Lovely. Thank you, Neal. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Lee, over to you.
Neal, just on Ben Turner, what's the latest?
Yes, I feel for Ben. He's worked so hard after doing so well when he was in the team and keeping loads of clean sheets with Connell, then to get himself suspended and get out the team, and then to work so hard to get back to a place where he's ready for me. And I ummed and ahed last week at I was going to put him in the game last on Tuesday, and then because Connor and Alex were just getting towards the point where you're thinking I can't keep putting them on the pitch and expecting them not to break. So I thought, and then I made a decision, left him for this Saturday. Sorry. But then the likelihood is he would have probably played Saturday and then again Tuesday because Connor and Alex needed a break. So the timing for him and for me couldn't be worse because it was at a time where Connor and Alex now have had to go. The same with Dion and Tyler Golden. If you look at Dion playing the majority of the game on Saturday, that's sort of Saturday, Saturday on the trot. And normally in any normal season you get a breather at that point. We've got no breather. We've got Saturday, Tuesday now for 7-8 weeks, whatever it's going to be with the cup. So, the timing's not good. Ben Turner's likely to be anything up to sort of 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending, 10 days to 2 weeks, 2 weeks to 3 weeks, who knows. And it's the same with Tyler. But the problem is, in them 2 weeks, there's another 5 games.
Yeah.
And that then's 10 games that Connor and Alex and Dion have to play because we've got no alternatives. It's not possible. It's just not possible. So we're going to have to move in the transfer market. We're going to have to try and bring in some fresh bodies to get us through this period.
Have you spoken to the owners about that?
Yeah, of course, straight away. I mean, as soon as Ben walked in on Saturday and I knew that his calf, which he's had a problem with before, this was sort of 2:45. I rang Richard Montague, our sporting director, and first thing I said to him was, right, you need to get on the case now over the weekend, centre halves, blah blah blah. And then obviously Tyler's happened, and I mean Greg, I think Greg got 20 minutes yesterday with his dinner with his family. Other than that, he was probably on the phone all day. But it's hard because not everyone's answering their phones working on Sundays. So we continued that into today. We're doing everything we can to try and get a couple of really good bodies in really, really quickly. And we do need another centre half and we do need another right back.
I was going to say, but you've obviously got the 5 loans, haven't you, as well? Does that complicate matters at all?
Yes and no. It's unfortunate.
Or is it just a case you just need to get bodies in?
Yeah, but if Tyler's not fit, he's one of the loans. So if he's out for 3 weeks, he's not going to count as a loan anyway. So whoever comes in, we've got 4. Add the 2 to it. If we get them in, that makes it 6. And ultimately, if you look at it, you've got Calvin, you've got Wolfie, you've got Jimmy Knowles. We have got loans, but I'm going to have to manage that on a ad hoc basis. If it's a game where Dion can start, then the centre half can be involved, and I might not need the right back to be involved. So that's for me to manage and look at the schedule. But one thing I do know is, and it's really important fans understand, is I cannot pick the same team every week going forward. We just, like I say, Connor and Alex have played 5 games on the trot, same with Dion, and they're almost at the point of accumulative fatigue and injury. And if we lost either one of them for 6 weeks, everyone would be devastated. So I've got to look after their bodies, and whoever comes in has got to be ready to go. Yeah.
Are you close to bringing anybody in?
We're working on it. As soon as I finish here, I've been on it just before lunch. I'm back in, and I'll be back in the office now. I've got my agent on the case. I've got Greg's on the case. We're trying to, but obviously, if it was just down to us, they'd have been in this morning. But it's not. Sometimes you're waiting on oppositions and opposite teams and managers to come back to you and give you the thumbs up.
And just going on to Eli Sam, I mean, obviously he's now a global superstar.
Superstar.
I've got to ask you about the Puskás Award. I mean, if that goal had been scored in the Premier League or if it had been scored in the Spanish leagues, people wouldn't stop raving about it, would they?
I don't think anyone stopped raving about it anyway. I mean, from what I don't do social media, but even my kids said to me, "Oh, Dad, have you, Elisha Sam's goals all over everything." So it's great. I just think it's great for the club. It's great for him, me being a boring so-and-so, I liked his first goal more because he drove into the box, beat somebody and did what he should do, because I know that's going to happen more often, but great, let it happen. And that's the good thing about social media. There's lots of bad to social media, but the good thing about it is when stuff like that can get shared around the world.
How were the players with him this morning?
I don't know whether there was any banter. Like I said, I asked for his autograph, but he's a humble boy. It certainly won't go to his head, but I'm sure he'll get a little bit of stick.
How pleased are you for him on a personal level? Because it couldn't have been easy for him, just as the same with Ruben, in the fact that they've come from foreign leagues. They've had to settle in a new country at a time when the country's been gripped by a pandemic. Families away back at home. The family can't come over and visit. Does that sort of? It's almost like it feels it's a really nice thing for him personally, given everything that he's had to contend with.
Yeah, and that's the thing fans don't see. You know, there's these are people. You know, we only see the players and what's he doing on the pitch, and he's got to do better or whatever it happens to be. And it's the same. You know, it's the same with me. I don't see my family all week. Ruben and Eli particularly. It's been a really tough move in abroad anyway. But you know, Eli spent the first sort of 4 or 5 months without his wife, who was finishing off stuff in Belgium. So he's only been able to have her over since January. Ruben hasn't seen his mum and dad, and Ruben is I won't say it out loud, but he's a bit of a mummy's boy. He likes his mum, he loves his family, and he hasn't been out to even, you know, everything's been on. And I know we've all been the same. We probably all haven't been out to see our parents, but it's tough. He's in a foreign country, and for them to both improve and progress from where they were at the start of the season to where they are now throughout that is a credit to them.
Brilliant. And on Kings Lynn tomorrow night, I mean, obviously you are expecting the game to go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know anything otherwise. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
And what are you expecting from them? Because it was a tough game at their place, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really difficult as a manager to know what's going to happen where we are with the opposition and how they are going to tackle us. So we played them at their place. They played 3-4-3. They did a little bit what Solihull did. They sat off us and had pressing lines to try and stop us playing through them. And then when we got to the last 15-20 minutes and they were chasing the game, they were, you know, they put the big lad on at top gash and they played off him and it caused us problems. And maybe that mentality shift at that point of they're chasing the game and we're trying to hold on made a difference. So I don't know how they're going to come. They've played 4-4-2 since. They might come and have a real go at us and do what other teams have done recently and try and press us and get in our face. They may try and do what Solihull did and block passing lines. We've got to be prepared for both.
I just on the performance on Saturday, Greg said you had steam coming out of your ears at half time.
I did, but it's always the same. You start off going, right, the boys need me to be calm. They need me to tell them what they're doing wrong, how they're going to do better, how they're going to change the game. And then the moment you start doing it, I get louder and louder as I'm going along. And before you know it, you're almost winding yourself up during your team talk. So, I don't normally dig out individuals. I always look at the team. But I got stuck into a few. And I don't ever do it in a nasty, pointing fingers way. I do it in a challenging way. I try and leave it with them to say, are you going to turn around in this second half and change everything I've just said? Are you going to do it? Can you do it? And it's a challenging, you know, it's not I don't like putting people down. I like to challenge them and ask questions of them and leave it for them. And they did. Everyone, we went brave second half. We took risks and went 2v2 at the back and really pushed in on them and tried to get more penetration. And the boys carried it off straight away in that first 15-20 minutes of the first half. We could have scored 2 or 3 goals.
100 games in charge of Notts County. I know you spoke about how proud you are to manage the football club. What was your sort of abiding memory? What is the proudest moment in that time?
God, it's been a roller coaster. We should do a documentary on this, really, shouldn't we? As long as you get Brad Pitt in to play me, I don't mind. That'll do. My missus likes him. It's crazy.
It's an uncanny resemblance.
Oh, yeah, more like armpit. I don't know if I've got an actual proud moment. I know what's expected of me. I don't know how people see what happened last season. I didn't achieve the first goal last season. Was a difficult season. I thought we did remarkable to get to the final, but we let ourselves down in the final. This season, we don't want to have any excuses. And as it stands at the moment, we're in contention for the main prize, which is trying to get promoted. And we're in a semi-final of a cup with a great opportunity to go to Wembley. So I know all that can fall apart very, very, very soon. But for me, I would rather wait till the end of the season and be defined then. And if I can achieve what I've set out to achieve, then I'll be proud of that.
Lovely.
Thanks, Lee. John Brindley.
Hi, Neal.
Hiya.
Hiya. Right. You've spoken there about some question marks about Kingsley, and obviously there's some question marks about other clubs as well, including Dover, who are miles and miles behind and saying they're not going to play. Do you have any sort of view on what should happen to the records of clubs that maybe aren't going to complete their season?
Well, I don't have a view that's way above my pay grade. What I don't think can continue is if I read right what I'm reading, which is that they're getting fined for every game that they don't attend or play. It's getting to the point now where even their ability to play the games is kind of untenable as far as they're so far behind. That's then unfair on the teams that have still got to play them or have had games cancelled against them that would have to fit them in again. So I think whatever happens and whatever the answer is, and that's again above my pay grade, it needs to be done pretty quickly. I don't think it can keep continuing like it is with uncertainty. I think a stance needs to be made, advice needs to be taken, and whatever the powers that be decide, they need to decide it rather than just keep letting it roll on.
Okay. You talked about Tyler. What's Tyler's injury?
So Tyler rolled his ankle down on the right hand side. He went in for a tackle and he rolled an ankle that he'd done a few months back, but he's redone it almost like a grade 1 strain. And
so that's why you took him off on Saturday?
Yeah, he tried to play on, and I didn't want to take him straight off because it was his first game and he was desperate to do well, and he was limping around, and I could just see he wasn't quite comfortable, but I didn't know if he could run it off, so I gave him 5-10 minutes and I kept looking at him and I kept shouting onto him. I didn't really want to bring Dion on, but eventually it looked like it was too much for him. So I think the likelihood is he's going to be probably a couple of weeks, at least until he's back training, and he's got to get himself fit. But the problem is within that time we've got another 5 games, and Dion's already played 5 on the bounce. So like I said, we're probably going to have to move and try and bring somebody in to help us.
You mentioned that Connell and Alex have played those 5 games, and that all knowledge that we have suggests that when you play too many games in too short a time, the chances of injuries are higher. Is it also a factor trying to bring in players who haven't played for a while, that's also an issue? Yeah,
it's a challenge. There's one or two that we've looked at, and then you look at them and you think, are they ready to go straight in? Obviously, there's difficulties. There's one or two on our list that are potential Premier League loans, but Premier League can't loan outside the window, so they go out the equation. So your list that you've put together becomes shorter and shorter, and then you weigh up the situations of where they've been. Some of them might have had injuries and just coming back from an injury, and you think, well, they're not going to be able to go straight in and do a job for you. So yeah, it is tough. It does get shorter. It's not an exact science, but we're going to put the next couple of hours to it. We've worked really hard this morning, and like I say, we're in the hands of other managers and other clubs at the moment. Yeah.
Lee must have forgotten to mention Callum, because he mentions him every time. What's his latest? Obviously, he had a bit of a setback last week, didn't he?
Yeah, I think with Callum, my decision is that Callum won't be rejoining the squad until he's 100% ready. Whether we tried to push him through because he's Callum and he's such a wonderful talent, he needs to do the hard yards. He needs to get to the point where he can train 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks without anything. And when I say train, I mean starting doing base work, straight line running, long distance running, and then bring it through into training and changing direction and striking balls. And until we get there, I really can't consider him. And I've kind of taken that out of his and the physio's hands. I've just said, go and get the base work, go and tell me that he's regularly able to do loads of stuff without any discomfort, stiffness, soreness, and then we'll start to look at when we drip feed him back in.
So there's no time limit on that?
No time limit on that. Who knows? I'm not going to start. I've already, not promised, but I've already gone on, sort of advice I was given and put him in and around the squad, and it wasn't the right time, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. Cal's got to get the hard yards in and remain injury and niggle free during that period for me to feel, and him to feel confident in his body that he's ready to step in.
So he felt some soreness after coming on the other night.
Yeah, I think it's accumulation of all the work he's doing. Maybe we've crammed it into a short space of time, but it's difficult when somebody's been out for 3 months. If somebody had 6 weeks off in pre-season and come back, you end up doing a 6-week build-up for them to be really fit to play games. and when he's had 3 months out, and an operation, all of a sudden you're trying to get that 6 weeks into 2 weeks. It probably doesn't work.
After having quite a long time without too many home games, you're suddenly swamped with them, aren't you? Happen to be at home on Saturday. You've got 3 more league games coming up. Important games, aren't they, to build some momentum?
They are, yeah, absolutely. Home games are always important, but I've got good confidence in this group, because we're going to have a spell with this season as like no other. Normally you don't have too many away games on the trot, but we're going to have a spell coming up soon where we'll probably end up having something like 7 out of 10 games away from home, probably 5 on the trot or something. So it's not easy. We've had more home games than we have away this season. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a brutal schedule, lots of travelling, lots of away games, and like I say, we don't ever go away from home trying to nick a point. We go away from home trying to win. So we'll just keep the same way, home and away.
Okay. Thanks very much for that.
Thank
Neal.
you.
Thanks, John.
Neal, sorry, just a quick one on Hornchurch. That's what I did forget to ask.
Yep.
And obviously the trophy semi-final over one leg. I mean, obviously you're going to be heavy favourites to go to Wembley, but how would you view that draw?
It's a good draw, as in we're at home, and obviously with no disrespect to Hornchurch, they're the sort of lowest ranked team in the competition. So all of that's positive, but this is what FA Cups, FA trophies are about, upsets. So, like I said in the Oxford game, if we don't match their desire to get to Wembley, then it becomes a really tricky tie. So when that time comes, whatever team's out on that pitch has got to have the desire to get to Wembley, and if they've got that and the work ethic that goes with it, then hopefully the quality shines through.